This is probably going to be one of the hardest videos that I make. Uh, it's because it's one of those things that you try to leave in your past, but it drags along behind you, and you always have that trail. When I was 24 years old, I spent a year about on estradiol and T blockers, transitioning male to female, um, going by the name Amelia. Ultimately, I decided that this was not my journey to take. This was not the path that I needed to go down. Sometimes I still struggle with feelings of discomfort within my own skin, but I ultimately decided that this was not the solution to those problems. The best place to start is with what I can best determine were the factors which led toward me making those decisions, and it's long and complicated. And a human life is really an accumulation of many factors piling up over time. As a child, I had a lot of issues. I struggled with um, self worth, identity. I struggled with shame, guilt, fear, loneliness, all kinds of bad feelings. I remember I had at a very early age. Um, but I was also very curious and very open minded, and I was attracted to things that I found to be novel or weird, the unexplored, the taboo, things which I just had no experience with in the country and in the American countryside. I had always been attracted to women, almost to a degree of worship, um, and that actually led me to a lot of hurt and heartache. Uh, and I realized that I was attracted to people of all sexes, basically, but I don't believe these proclivities led to my decision to transition overall. My first introduction to transsexuality as a serious concept was in a movie called Boys Don't Cry, starring Hilary Swank. Uh, and it's a good movie, but it's a tough movie to watch. I don't think I should talk about any of those things on here, but if you're curious, it's about the case of Brandon Tina, or Tina Brandon. Um, you can look that up. It was real things that happened. And I saw this movie when I was 11 years old. I was trying to stay up really late to catch Texas Chainsaw Massacre on IFC, the Independent Film Channel. And this is what I ended up seeing in the meantime. And like I said, as an 11-year-old, it, it was a lot to grapple with at that age. But as a teenager, I would have few qualms with breaking gender norms, like painting my fingernails or being emotional. I wrote a lot of poetry. I did things that boys weren't expected to do in my neck of the woods. Um, Now, 1 second here, I lost my place. Oh yeah, and while I was breaking these gender roles, I never really felt the need to change my sex or to claim to be a woman or anything. It was, to me, breaking those norms just seemed natural, inevitable. It didn't seem to say anything about my sense of gender at the time, at least. Now, later in high school, I had girlfriends, and I don't know. I guess there was one girl I tried on her jeans. There were a couple girls actually. I put on their jeans, and they basically were like, "Your butt looks better in those than mine does," kind of thing. Made me feel good about myself. Was really flattering, um, which I was getting less and less of as the effects of puberty began to show. Um, as a young boy, uh, I wasn't seen as anything threatening to women. I had a lot of older women or women of all ages, really. They would dote over me and show me all kinds of love and affection and attention and even protection. But as I grew into a young man, I began to feel less trusted, less respected, less admired. Um, and I just felt less accepted overall. Now, I had never bonded with men very much at all. I was only friends with girls in high school. Um, I felt like an outsider amongst guys. I didn't know about the things that I was supposed to know about. I didn't know about. I didn't know anything about sports or mechanics, guns, hunting, fishing. None of those things were really up my alley, and so I just felt kind of alien. I didn't feel like I fit in with anybody really. Um, anyway, the next big event which impacted me was that one night I was at a party. The people I came with, they had disappeared. They were somewhere there, but I didn't really know anybody. I was standing around. I always had this feeling of being like an animal at the zoo. Like I've got this glass between this barrier between me and everybody else, and I just couldn't break it. And a DJ from the area who had befriended me on Facebook through a mutual friend, he showed up. Uh, he was giving me beer. He was helping me feel included, getting me involved with people socially. Um, now, there was another guy there, and they had been cutting out lines of Molly, MDMA. It's a party drug. It's uh, it's the main chemical compound in ecstasy without the pharmaceutical aspect of it. But they were cutting out lines of that, and I did a couple, and then they cut out a third line, and that turned out to be ketamine, which is an animal tranquilizer, and it's a strong dissociative, which sent me into a K hole. Um, and so that's basically an out of body experience, but it also like maybe like a little bit of locked in syndrome. You get thrown into a black pit inside your body, and you're vaguely aware that you're doing things, but not completely until it's gone. And I don't know. I had a really bad experience that night, um, and I had a hard time dealing with it in the aftermath. Um, so after this happened, I was dealing with a lot of really hard thoughts, and I started dating more men, and a lot of those men seemed to have interests in younger boys, and it had occurred to me, but it was also pointed out that maybe, and this was before I suffered my twink death, but it was pointed out to me that maybe these men were using me as an outlet for their issues. And uh, I would say this may have been part of what pushed me over the edge toward transition. But I don't really even feel like that was the reason why. It was just a catalyst. Um, I, Over the course of the time that I was transitioning, I don't know, a lot of things occurred to me. I had a lot of political differences. I was around a lot of radical groups, attended some radical trans feminism workshops and things like that. And I heard a lot of things that I just immediately struck me as off. And uh, I was also having interpersonal, like dating issues, finding the right match for a partner. And I was hit by a car, and I had a feeling that felt I had an experience that felt profound to me at the time. I also had been uh, exploring spirituality and consciousness, and I just came to the conclusion that um, second here, I came to the conclusion that that wasn't the way for me to solve my problems. I feel like I just wanted to be desired. I just wanted to be something beautiful, something people considered to be beautiful. Um, and I'm trying not to go off on a tangent and use word salad here. Bear with me. Oh yeah, to be the beauty which I felt that I had lost when I felt like I had been abandoned by love a lot, and I guess I kind of wanted to embody those feelings that I had for others by, like I said, assuming that that role. I don't know, like some kind of role reversal. I remember like seeing a video of Miley Cyrus and Ariana Grande doing "Don't Dream It's Over," and thinking like I wish a girl would talk to me the way Miley talks to Ariana. You know, it's that I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it there's something there that I don't fully comprehend yet. I wasn't finding any of these things by going down this path. I was taking myself further away from those things, and I wasn't any closer to finding myself either. I had wanted to break the chains of expectations for what I was supposed to be, but I had drawn an entirely new box around myself, and I had all these new strictures and rules to abide by. It was just as limiting, just as boxed in, and it felt like just as much of a stage play. There wasn't any authenticity in it. I don't feel like, or maybe a little bit, but there's a lot of theater involved. At this point, I think we might be edging too far into political territory, and I'm not sure I want to tread that territory, except maybe to say you can embody any energy you want. You can play any role you want. You can live out your reality to its fullest. At the end of the day, though, we can't control other people. A lot of people won't see reality the way that you see it. Um, but we can't force people to acknowledge anything that contradicts those people's perception of reality either. It is frustrating, it's infuriating, and it's devastating when the people around us aren't validating our sense of self. When people are being inconsiderate of our feelings, when we're not being witnessed for who we feel we are. It's a big place we live in, and you can find people who will respect. You can find people who will respect these things. Um, I still slip back into those modalities sometimes, but it's really, I see it as a safety net. It's an infantilization of myself. That's because for a man in this society to be vulnerable is considered to be infantile, and an infantile man is met with aggression by other men, for one. Um, vulnerability is not a treasured asset for the male gender. Um, and so another outlet for to allow this vulnerability, other than to be infantile and to invite scorn, um, is to frame it as a gender expression, which arguably also invites scorn. Um, and I I don't want to argue with anybody who is transgender that they're not transgender. Um, I think we should all be free to express ourselves and do what we feel is necessary for ourselves at the time. Um, I wonder how many people out there are going through similar things to what I went through. And if it's me, I'm sure there are others. And if this can help them maybe find a better way for themselves, maybe that's good enough.